This MFL MarMac Coach Conversation brought to you by Meyer Auto Service, Havlicek Trucking, and Birdnow Chevrolet. Head coach Dan Anderson joining us. And last Friday night, Dan, walk-on came to town, ended up getting the victory 28-12. After looking at the film of that game, what were your takeaways?
Well, when you're playing against a team like Walk-On that's, well coached and solid athletes across the board, can't fall behind, by 3 scores in the first half and expect to battle your way out of that. We Walk-On had a good game plan. They executed it well. Our guys, we were spending too much time in the first half defensively catching instead of tackling. You know what I mean? They had a good game plan. Brinkman was able to find some seams, and they were running their quarterback a lot. They were spreading things out and then running the quarterback in lots of different ways, not just, it wasn't just quarterback draws. I mean, there were a lot of different ways they were getting him in the running game and getting good yards. And then when they handed the ball to him, I think some of our linebackers and DBs, like I said, they were catching, and every time that one of the walk-on guys was running the ball, they were getting a lot of yards after contact. I can't imagine what they had, but it wasn't really typical Bulldog football. But I can take some of the responsibility for that. We tried to get a lot of pressure on walk-on. We had a similar game plan to last year and put pressure, try to get some hits on the quarterback, and it just wasn't happening. I mean, their offensive line did an outstanding job of staying on their blocks, picking up the blitz. When you blitz, then sometimes they say you live by the blitz, you die by the blitz, and we were not able to get home on the blitzes in the first half. So second half, we had to change things up a little bit and play a little bit more zone and just straight up football. And our guys were I guess we call it paralysis by analysis, probably. Some of the linebackers and DBs were kind of sitting flat-footed for too long and letting the walk-on guys come to us. And we changed things up in the second half, both offensively and defensively a little bit. Played a much better second half. If we would have played like that in the first half, it would have been a very competitive game all the way through. I think we outscored them 12-8 in the second half and moved the ball better and played much better defense in the second half. But, it's a 2-half game. It's 4 quarters, and we didn't show up for the first 2.
And when it comes to putting pressure on the quarterback, when you have a pretty good established running threat like Brinkman for walk-on, does that create some challenges in game planning, knowing the fact that you can bring a lot of guys, but he can get away pretty easily?
Right. And it also puts a lot of pressure on, with a team like Walk-On that runs so many different formations and shifts and motions, guys can get mixed up on coverages, because if you're blitzing a lot, then obviously you're running a lot more man coverage, either cover 1 or cover 0. And we were running both. And there were times that there were a couple times that we, had blown coverages. And that's not typical of Bulldog football, but obviously it's a young defense, 9 new starters from last year, and it's tough. Walk-on is always hard to defend because of so many formations, and they know where a weakness is at, and they if they can identify what a defense is trying to do, they have answers, and we have to do the same thing as a coaching staff. I mean, if we see a team is trying to take away one thing, we've got answers for it, and Coach Bierman does an outstanding job, and so does his staff, identifying what the defense is trying to do, and then they've got an answer for it. And in the first half, they definitely did that. They took advantage, full advantage of what we were trying to do. And second half, like I said, we played a little bit just more straight up, defense and played much better in the second half. But like I said, the damage was done. We were down 20-0 by 3 scores at halftime. It's going to be really hard to come back on a walk-on team. And I was very proud of the way our guys fought. We did play much better in the second half and made it a very competitive second half. And it was pretty much blow for blow in the second half. But, we were just down by too much.
Ignoring the opponent that you played, what are the main lessons you need to take moving forward to improve as a team from last Friday night?
Well, we need to communicate better. If we are going to blitz and we are going to be in man coverage, we got to make sure that these guys are talking to each other, point, talk, communicate. We need to see guys, pointing and yelling to each other and communicating back and forth. And so I didn't see enough of that. We need to continue to work on that. Other things we need to work on is, obviously our pad level, just our technique. I mean, we know who we are, what's got us to the point in our program where we're a successful program. And it's the little things, that it's when things don't go quite right, like last Friday night, you don't get out a pencil, you get out your eraser, and you take away, if things aren't working, you trim things down and you go back to what got you there and you work on those things. And so this week, as much as we need to, focus on what New Hampton does, we also have to focus on ourselves and what got us to the point in our program where we feel like, we can win every week. And, we got to have stay on our blocks longer. I mean, Walk-On did an outstanding job of their linemen of finding the guy they're blocking and maintaining contact. And it wasn't always, pancaking a guy, but just maintaining contact. It was hard to get off some of those blocks and allow those running backs and the quarterback to get ahead of steam. And then they put their shoulder pads down and ran hard. And the things that got us where we're at, we just need to work on that this week. Our tackling needs to improve a little bit. Our playing downhill needs to improve. But again, like I said, our second half was much better. We know our guys have got it. We just got to make sure that we bring it for 4 quarters.
You had a midseason loss last year that you obviously recovered very well from and made it all the way to the championship game. Granted, that was a different team. This is a different group of individuals, but do you take anything from the lessons you learned from that midseason loss last year to help you moving forward in not exactly an apples to oranges situation, but coming off of a defeat, and guys don't take the field to go out and lose.
Right. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I don't like to lose, and our kids don't like to lose, but it's a non-district football game, and when you're playing against good competition, you might take a loss and or two. And so, I mean, I told our guys we're not going to dwell on it too long on the loss, but we obviously have to clean some things up. And like you said, last year we lost to Summer Fredericksburg, a very good Summer Fredericksburg team that made it all the way to the quarterfinals, lost to them 13-9 at our homecoming. It was a wake-up call for our guys that we need to play for 4 quarters, and we can't just show up and expect to win. And, Friday night, I don't know what it was, but we were, our guys were definitely, it came out slow and tentative, and you can't do that against a good walk-on team, any good team. And so our guys learned that you better show up the first half and play for 4 quarters. And so, as much as we don't like to lose, it doesn't affect our chances at all in the playoffs. It's a non-district game. And, you obviously learn or should learn more when you lose than you do when you win. And, we know some of the things we have to work on, and we're definitely addressing those things this week.
Long story longer, as you said, you're on to New Hampton. Chickasaws, you go to their place this week. What are you expecting out of them?
Well, they got a really nice running back there, that Bo Series, number 8. He had 206 yards rushing against Denver, so he's dangerous. He got really good speed. He gets outside on you, he's gone. See you later. Better have good angles on this guy. So pursuit's going to be very important. Pursuit drills and running to the ball and swarming the ball. Their quarterback Roush is really he's a good athlete. He throws a really nice ball and very accurate. And so we're going to have to make sure that our DBs, get to their zones and they're picking up their guys and playing downhill and gang tackling. They've got a big tight end. It's like 6'4", 235. It's a sophomore. He's a sophomore, and he catches the ball well. And defensively, they're a little undersized, but they run well. And we just have to worry about what we do, and obviously be prepared for what we're going to see, but focus on ourselves a little bit this week and fix some of these things that cost us the game last Friday night. And if we do that, we think we got a good chance. But we're going to a hostile environment, going over to New Hampton. It's always a tough place to play over there. They have a great fan base, everything over there. And, we've been playing New Hampton. I played against them when I was in high school, and it's always the same. It's a tough place to play over there. They always have a big crowd, and they love football over there. And so it'll be a good game, and, they'll give us everything we want.
All right, Dan, ought to be a good ball game in New Hampton on Friday night. Hopefully you guys can get back on the winning track. Keep you guys healthy. We wish you best of luck.
All right. Thank you, Darren.
MFL MarMac coach Dan Anderson. It's the Bulldogs and the Chickasaws this week. This conversation has been brought to you by Meyer Auto Service, Havlicek Trucking, and Birdnow Chevrolet.